Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore for our Season 8 semi-finals of StarCraft 2. How you all doing out there? All good? Great, got a fantastic crowd in today. I've already enjoyed the League of Legends finals. Now we're going to move on to the StarCraft 2 semi-finals. Before we get there, though, let's take a look at the bracket and show you what's happened so far. We've had 3 fantastic days of StarCraft 2. This is our 4th day and our final day, as you can probably work out by the tie. The quarterfinals were played out this morning and this afternoon. Hydra coming through against the last Foreign Hope Scarlet, 3-1. San also disposing of Effort, the Zerg going down 3-1 in that game. Don Regu absolutely on fire today, 3-0 against Hack. And likewise, Hero taking down MVP. Someone should sort that spelling out, by the way. M-B-V, not W-U-Y. It's all good, though. We know exactly what's going down. So, it's time for our first semi-final, which means introducing you to our 2 players. They've had a fantastic run already, and these 2 players have had an interesting tale of the tape in 2013 as well. Our first man is an Intel Extreme Masters newbie. He's never been here before, but we are thrilled to have him with us as part of the CJ Entus influx of players to the Intel Extreme Masters. Please make some noise for Hydra. And he goes head-to-head with a man that we don't often see outside of the Taiwanese Pro League, but he has made some effort in WCS this season, and we have seen him at a previous Intel Extreme Masters. Last time out was in New York, where he went out in the quarterfinals to none other than Naniwa. He is Mr. San. And these 2 are going head-to-head in the semi-finals. This one is a best of 5. The map vote is just going to come up, which means it's time to go over to our commentary team, who are going to lead you through all of the action of semi-final number 1.
Thanks very much, Paul. Welcome to the caster's desk here for the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore semi-finals here for StarCraft 2, as we now have San and Hydra battling out for one of those grand final spots. And I'm pretty looking forward to this one.
Definitely. San has shown he's a master of PvZ, and Hydra, he's won a lot of matchups to get here. He's looked pretty dicey in everything except the ZVP. ZVP looked absolutely unstoppable, despite the fact that he lost the game, but the other 2 games looked absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah. That's true. San doesn't really lose this match a whole lot. Interestingly enough, though, when it came to the Korean qualifiers, we actually saw San go out very, very early on to Don Regu, no less, who is on the other side of the bracket and doing pretty darn well for himself as well. So San did end up trying there, but then came actually to the tournament itself, went through the open bracket, and, I mean, looking at that open bracket, it wasn't too much of a challenge for him. There was a lot of Protoss in there, but there was also a lot of Zergs, as he was able to make his way through the lower bracket, going through people like Targa.
But the one thing going into this is San has been very stylistic. He's been doing that 4 Gateway Zealot opening every single time, including against Hydra's teammate in the previous match. And Korean team, they're going to share that information. Hydra, if he wasn't watching, he will definitely know what happened. Effort will tell him. They will go over that. They'll try and figure out how to deal with it. And Effort looked like he had some idea. He just couldn't quite get the execution down. Hydra definitely, at least judging by the games they've played so far, the more solid, the more comfortable early game ZVP player. Effort takes a while to get him going, but Hydra, I think, definitely in the early mid-game will be the superior player there. Yeah,
it's very important to note that, once again, it is best of 5, so each player only has 1 map veto. Hydra will take away Akalon Wastes, and considering what we saw from San on that map, maybe he just doesn't want to have to go into big macro mode against San when he gives him those bases to get going. We saw a lot of Sky play there from San, and didn't quite work out in the end, but San does rely more so on his early to mid-game focus to really, really punish his Zerg opponents.
Yeah, I honestly find that ban very, very surprising. I think it would be much better spent for Hydra on something like Polar Knight or Yunsu or something, where the Zealot pressure into an Immortal, or some other kind, but probably Immortal, all in, is nearly unstoppable in the hands of San. I don't know, maybe he just specifically doesn't like Akalon for some reason. Maybe he feels very comfortable holding it off, and he's actually kind of trying to bait San into doing that build. Those are the only things I can think of. But we are going to get a lot of big macro maps involved in the first 3 games. Polar Knight, of course, the more aggressive map, but Frost and World have been the 2 big macro maps in the pool. That has to go in Hydra's favor. Maybe he has been a very aggressive player himself, but you almost have to imagine that his late game, his macro, is kind of going to be better than San's. Because San on Akalon didn't look so comfortable.
No, not at all. As we said before, his earlier game focuses are things to be worried about when it comes to playing against him as a Zerg player. And the interesting thing about those maps and the way in which we saw the order go there, we saw Hydra taking Frost and then Whirlwind after we saw San's second choice. So very, very obvious here that that Hydra wants to be on those bigger maps against San. Very, very obvious from the very get-go. And as you rightly pointed out, the CJ Entus players, they're going to be deliberating exactly how to take this guy apart, because Hydra knows he has to just defend very early on.
Yeah, and Hydra is looking to start out strong with those map picks, but that kind of gives San he is a cheesy player. He's an aggressive player. He's going to have builds up his sleeve that he can do to get himself early wins, and he knows that he has his good maps in the home stretch. He just needs to get a win or two out of the early series, and he can call that a win. You know, he can call that a win. He can be satisfied with that. He doesn't need to take the series early, whereas Hydra does. So that puts a bit of pressure on him. And in PvZ, you can always do some funky stuff and maybe luck out a win. There's always the potential for that. So Hydra's going to have to be very, very safe and just cover all of the possible bases in the early game going into these first few maps, especially on Frost and Whirlwind.
For me, so far in the past couple of weeks, months even, that we've seen Hydra playing in this matchup, the only player that we've really seen him be really contested by is his teammate, Hero, during the qualifiers for the Korean and Taiwanese region. And now Hero stands on the other side of the bracket, so if Hydra were to advance and Hero in turn, that certainly could cause him some problems. But other than that, Hydra has been very, very strong against Protoss. And now he stands up against San, who... well, a lot of people consider him to have some of the best ZVP in the world. So this is going to be a fantastic match. I'm looking forward to it.
It certainly is. And it's a very interesting clash of styles because they both seem more early game oriented. The games against Squirtle yesterday, Hydra just killed him flat out with timings. And maybe it's just because he doesn't have to go to late game. Maybe he's just good enough and comfortable enough with those early game builds, with those mid game timings, that he doesn't feel like he needs to. But it definitely seems like there is an emphasis. It seems like he wants to get his opponents out of the game real fast. And San, of course, we've already experienced plenty of his PvZ to know that he is looking for the early game. And back in previous games, previous months, San looked pretty comfortable in the mid game. It seemed like he was one of the few Protosses who had an actual handle on how to deal with Swarm Host Turtle, how to keep his opponents off balance enough to not let it get to the point where it is so frustrating for Protoss, like we saw in that Akalon game. But effort, once he got going, once he solidified himself, it looked like San just could not find a hold, had no idea what to do about it. And so if it does get past the mid game, if neither of their timings are successful in killing each other off, it's kind of unexplored territory for both of them. We don't know how good Hydra is going to be there, and we don't know if San's going to be able to deal with it.
All right, well, the countdown has begun. We are getting loaded up into game number 1 of our first semi-final for today to find out who moves on to the grand final to contest for that championship position here in the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore. Frost will be our first map here in this PvZ between San and Hydra. And without further ado, let's introduce those players spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our red Protoss. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for San! And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg representing CJ Entus. Give it up for Hydra.
And Hydra's gotten cross positions on an already very large map, so he has to feel great about that. Immortal all-ins on here, it's quite a stretch. You're pretty desperate if you're going for an Immortal all-in cross positions on a map like this. And we're seeing the first deviation is looking like a Forge FE from San, along with a very early Probe Scout. So that is already, I think every single PvZ we've seen him thus far has been Gateway expansion.
He might look for Cannon Rush.
That's a definite possibility.
This is very unlike San here to be going for that Forge, as you rightly said. Normally, it's that Gateway expand. So depending on when he sends down that second probe to either build a Forge or actually just eventually just negates that and just goes straight for a Nexus first, this is a very, very big change that we're seeing here from San.
Yes, it is. Although, if he goes for a Cannon Rush, Hydra, every single ZVP he played yesterday, he opened up with a pool first. And he is sending out that very early probe. As you said, the Forge goes down. He hasn't even scouted yet.
Well, he's going to
send sending out a second probe,
yeah.
so he's definitely looking for a Cannon Rush here. And it is going to be a hatch first. But he's sending out 2 drones, so he smells something.
Well, we could have even seen Hydra try and go for a triple hatch. I mean, I'm not saying that that drone is the case for that, but it looks like San is going to get up here with this initial probe. Hydra does spot that, and he knows what's up. He knows his opponent's kinds of mentality, what he's going to be going for. This was a nice, a clever move by San, but depending on the execution, it could go wrong if Hydra's on top of things.
Second drone pulled down absolutely immediately. Hydra knows this is a gateway expansion player. You see a probe that early, it means something.
Yeah.
The 2 pylons going down. Hydra knows. The spawning pool comes down. That's a little bit late. However, he has a lot of drones down here. Everything comes down to blocking the wall in, blocking the important cannon positions, and it looks like he's doing just that. Well, kind of. There's a few dangerous cannon spots he could drop.
Yeah, this isn't really going to work out, I don't think, in the end for San. I mean, he does have the 2 probes out there. It makes it a little bit more deadly for Hydra to control if he's actually going to have to deal with those, and if San tries this, but there's just no way. There's no room for him at all.
Hydra being very, very careful with all his positioning, not letting anything get through. A few little openings where San might have been able to get a cannon in one of the closer, tighter spots, but San never deciding to go for it, never deciding he had the opportunity, and the Nexus and the Gateway do come down, so he has given up on that. He did send out 2 probes early. He got the Forge before the Nexus, and Hydra gets away with a hatchery, even though he had 4 or 5 drones sitting down there blocking that for quite some time. That's a definite little economic lead for Hydra. Definitely a better build for him.
And I love how Hydra actually sent out that drone scout, because let's think about this. San, as is always, we've always seen him going gateway expands, and this is of course Frost, a map where the Forge and cannon rushing can be tricky if you don't send out 2 probes to actually eventually scout your opponent. Now, Hydra, knowing that his opponent doesn't really like that macro focus against Zergs, and gateway pushes not being the most amazingly effective thing here just yet, because Hydra's always going to know about that will be coming. So it was a nice attempt by San, but Hydra's covering all of his bases so nicely.
And really, really good game sense by Hydra there, too, to send out that drone scout. Drone scouting in ZVP is really uncommon. So he just good awareness of the map, good awareness of his opponent's style. Worked out really, really well for him. But on the other side, a good read by Sen, because Hydra is a pool-first player from everything we've seen so far. And so to recognize that on this map, he's going to want to go for hatchery first, and to go out and really dedicate to that cannon rush before he scouted anything. He dropped the Forge, and he sent out the second probe before any scouting information was found. So a smart play from him, and impressive commitment to it. But just Hydra out mind gaming him.
And we see Sam going for something that is less common for him, as we do have that Stargate thrown down. But if he were to try and go for any kind of 4-gate pressure at this point, off the back of a Forge Fast expand as opposed to Gateway expand, then it would be a little bit slower. So likely here that we could see some Void Rays out of San. It really depends. I mean, he has a lot of options, but he does favor Void Rays usually when he goes for Stargate.
Yeah, especially on the Aklon game, he went for Void Rays mostly because he was, first off, defending a Roach Rush, and then also because that was just kind of his long game plan. He was looking for a Void Ray-based composition in the macro game. But here, the only interesting thing here is that San hasn't actually taken his 4th gas. So that could be, and an Oracle's coming out first. The follow-up will be the interesting part. Could be the Oracle to harass, then a bunch of Phoenix, and then a Warp Gate rush under it. But only 3 gas definitely signifies some kind of aggression here, most likely.
Well, San's just going to get up
third Nexus.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's actually very, very quick here for San. So he is going to try and macro out of this pretty speedily, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out for Hydra. We've seen, even during the qualifiers for this tournament itself, Hydra's ability to go toe-to-toe with the best of those Protoss players in this big macro game. And he already knows that the Stargate's down, so he's going to be preparing for that without having initially seen the Oracle.
And the one Protoss he did lose to, his teammate Hero, is more of an impeccable long game macro, not necessarily macro. He can rush with the best of them because, I mean, he is a Protoss. That's a necessary part of your arsenal. But he's much more a management kind of player. He's not a cheeser like San. So, ooh, quite a few drones falling to that Oracle actually and getting away for free. And this Nexus actually would be pretty risky had Hydra gone for Speedling, but without the option to go Speedling to punish it, definitely getting up for free, getting up safely. So Sen is just going to have that very fast 3-base economy. He's upgrading as well, adding on some more gateways, and into Void Ray, even Chrono boosting out the Void Ray. So looking like a similar composition to what he was using on Akalon.
Yeah, definitely. And with the robot actually being thrown down, in an interesting position there for San. Throwing down the 3rd base, it is a little bit vulnerable if Hydra were to go for something extremely aggressive with Roach Hydras. But at this point in time, we do see that San has already spotted the layer. He knows that's going down, and Hydra is just committing to those double evolution chambers. So it looks like a very range-heavy upgrade style. He's liked to go for a lot of a lot of Hydralisks as opposed to Roaches very quickly, because just in general, it can deal with a lot of things defensively, like Stargates, for example.
We actually have, despite that third Nexus and the tech, a little bit of Zealot aggression, along with the Oracle in the main, doing more harassment damage. But some Zealots wandering into the third, a forward pylon from San, and warping in a lot of Zealots. He has seven Zealots and another pylon coming up. So it doesn't really matter what San's doing. He's going to find a way to attack you with Zealots. Yeah,
he always somehow finds a way. It's really, really quite impressive, considering the position in this game that we're at. This is not the normal little time that we're seeing here from San.
There are no units besides 6 Zerglings here from Hydra. He's panic making a bunch of Hydras and Roaches. If San actually focuses down this hatchery, he very well could kill it.
He certainly could. There's a few Lings going to stream in here, try and buy some time. All the drones have to fight as well. I mean, he needs to save this hatchery. He's got one going up to the top left, but this is going to stop a lot of the income here if he loses this. The Zealot's actually just going to work, and they're killing off a lot of drones. He's already killed off 28 drones in total, killing off more. This is really impressive here by San.
The hatchery falling easy as well, and this is not a 2-base all-in. This is any kind of early pressure. This is off of a third Nexus and a lot of economy.
What is this? Somehow San manages to find a way here, and
that
again,
is absurd.
It's not a normal timing. It was just randomly, I am going to throw in a few Zealots here and go for it. But during all of that, Hydra had no ability to see that.
And the Oracle's back in the main, killing more and more drones. There's no Spore Crawler there still. Oh my!
San is actually ripping Hydra apart here in game number 1.
And Hydra is falling apart very readily. It's amazing that worked. He had 3 Nexus, 2 tech paths, he had like 3 gateways. Just makes some Zealots and sends them and wins the game.
Wow, GG for game number 1. San, this was not expected here in game 1. Gotta say, I thought either, San was gonna go for something two-base aggression or just try and play out a very, very long macro game, but he found small angles, and the lack of vision there for Hydra on the map really, really hurt him.
And the complete lack of units. He had 6 Speedlings as those Zealots waltzed into his third base. And just, he knew about the Nexus, he knew about the Stargate tech. At that point, you think, okay, I'm pretty safe. As long as I deny the air tech harass, I can just make my drones and get into the mid game. And not against San. You're never safe against San. And this is a really bad loss for Hydra to take, because Frost is one of the maps.
There's
a lot of maps in this pool that are really good for San, and Frost is one of the maps that was actually kind of good for Hydra. It was his first choice, and then to lose it like that, that's kind of what I said beforehand. If San just kind of wants to throw something wacky in there and try and take one of those maps and get it to the 4th and 5th games, where he's going to have the maps like Yunsu to Immortal all in on, could work out really well for him, and it did work out there.
A very strange game number 1, and as you know, it was Hydra's map. That was the map that he chose. Now we head over to Polar Night, which is San's map, as we get geared up for game number 2 here in this best of 5. But San, I don't know how he managed to wiggle around that one, but it was absolutely superb. Ever the opportunist here in game 1. And, why not? Why not take that if you can get to it? Hydra, he was playing hyper greedy against a player who is as aggressive as San. You can't get away with that.
Nope, absolutely not. But, I mean, he kind of tricked him into it. He put down that third Nexus. He showed the air units. 9 times out of 10, you are going to be safe there. You're not really going to need that many units. Because if you see air tech, but he's on 2-base, then there can be a warp gate all in under it. But off of 3-base, that's pretty unheard of. Most Protosses don't play that way. If it had failed, that would have been pretty bad, because he's delaying quite a bit. He's not going to have any ground units, so he's going to have no ground army to speak of for quite some time, because he's making Zealots instead of the sentries you need to build up mana. So a bit of a risk there from San, but all the risk he takes, and they always seem to pay off. I'm not sure if it's game sense or he's having a really good weekend.
All right, well, we're getting on to game number 2 here in a second, as Polar Night will be the map. As I said before, it is San's choice here of the map, so maybe we will see something as aggressive, but he's just shown that there are tendencies of his that are slightly unpredictable. That was not something I saw coming up to the point where there was just Zealots randomly appearing on the other side of the map, and Hydra in turn clearly didn't see it either. So he needs to be very, very careful and be so cautious. Keep an eye on absolutely everything going on.
Yeah, Polar Night, as we said, this is one of San's maps, and we've seen on this map multiple times this tournament, and on maps similar to it, that 4 gateway Zealot opener into an Immortal all-in. And He keeps doing it, but I haven't seen it fail yet. It actually has not failed yet in this tournament.
So strong. Spawning up to the northern position as our red Protoss. Currently 1 game up. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for San. And down to the south, our blue Zerg representing CJ Entus. Give it up for Hydra.
I don't know, I'm kind of scared for Hydra. The Zealot into, and he is opening up with Gateway expansion here. We see the pylon in the main. So we're going to have to wait and see if he gets 2 gases or 1. That's pretty much the telltale sign. If he gets 1, he's going to be doing the Zealot rush, and then it's all up to Hydra to see how he wants to defend it. Effort every game was opening up with speed. It was a weird kind of half measure. He was opening up with the Speedling, but he didn't manage to prevent the pylon, and then there's nobody who's better at just judging the right amount of Zealots to make to keep himself alive, keep that presence there, but not overcommit than San. And then after given that, Effort was forced to then go into Roaches after rushing out the Speedling, and it just left him with a completely crippled economy. And we're going to have to see if Hydra can figure out the situation better or not.
Straight to the San go-to of that Gateway expand here. Very, very common to see that from him. So Hydra's going to end up scouting that out, and when it comes from San, he's gonna be a little bit more feeling as if that's normal here from his opponent. And you know, no opportunities of cannon rushes here either against Hydra. So maybe he might send the drone out to have a look around, but other than that, I think he would always expect a Gateway play from San here.
Almost definitely, and we do see that this game he puts down the hatchery. He doesn't send out the secondary drone to scout for any kind of probe or cannon rush. He's not looking to block that. He's not worried about it at all. And I really like seeing this from Hydra, because yesterday he seemed a very unadaptive player. He was doing the exact same thing all 3 games in all of his matchups. But this game, knowing that his opponent is a Gateway expander, just very confident in his read on him, going hatch first, and then going quick Speedling, which I really like, because I really think the early Speedlings give you the map control necessary to prevent the pylon from coming down and starting up that Warp Gate rush. We do see only the 1 gas in the main of San, so that will be what he's going for.
Yeah, especially on a map like this where you have to cover quite a bit of space on the left and right to make sure that those pylons aren't going down. Speedling's going to scout that out very, very quickly. And Hydra, in turn, does have a lot of room to position these overlords later on around the base to eventually spot what's going on in terms of tech. So, but he has to be very careful as well. If we see a 4 Gateway play from San, generally 2 are at the front, and then he always ends up hiding 1 behind the mineral line. So that's something Hydra's probably going to be looking out for.
Honestly, given how confident Hydra seems to be in his read on San, I think just the fact that he sees only the 1 gas in the main, I think that alone is going to be enough information for him to be very, very sure that 4 Gateway is coming. Because San has done it literally every other PvZ that he has played that we have seen. And Hydra seems to be well aware of that. I'm sure he is. And so we do have Speedling started. We do have no more gas. Well, only the 1 drone and gas from Hydra. That's relatively irrelevant here.
There's 1 Gateway, there's 2. Now it's 150 minerals more, and a pylon at the back might signify that we get a 4th if he wants to go for that. He's already started a sentry, which will hold at the front at least.
Front and boosting out Warp Gate as well. Kind of surprised we haven't seen that 4th Gateway yet. Yeah. He has 150 minerals. Oh, there it goes. It is now queued up in the back.
Well, this was kind of what we were expecting, and to be honest with you, if we can expect this, then Hydra can expect this. Now, how will he deal with it?
He sees the pylon, but he doesn't have Speedling yet. He can't quite kill it. And the pylon should be going down any second here. The 3rd hatchery is coming up from Hydra. No Roach Warren just yet. He's making a lot of links. Speedling is about to finish. The pylon's going to finish. He's not going to have links there in time to kill it.
This is a little bit of a tough spot here for Hydra. Again, he knows it's coming, but how is he going to deal with it is the question. 3 Lings actually poking away at the front of the base and almost getting themselves a sentry, but that was never going to happen as long as San is keeping on his toes. And the Zerglings are actually going to charge in here and go completely past the pylon.
The Warp Gates are already here. I think he was just looking for the probe, trying to get a secondary pylon or something, but the probe is already on the other side of the map looking for an optional expansion. That's actually really, really smart and shows a lot of foresight from San, because Hydra doesn't seem to be really committing to the defense, and Effort did not. He was just sacking his hatchery. So maybe San thinks that he's just going to give up this hatchery and try and build another one over there. But already a pylon, already a probe there from San, so well prepared for that.
Yeah, very, very well prepared. San doing a great job of being able to keep his opponent on his toes. And now these Zealots, they have to be dealt with. He doesn't have a Roach Warner. Also, he's going to try and deal with this exclusively with Zerglings. That's a tall order. Once those Zealots get into critical mass, once they cover a lot of ground. But a nice snipe out of the pylon.
Huh. And there's no more pylons over there, so he only has to worry about the zealots on the lower right portion of the map now, which makes life much, much easier for him. And he's actually making drones. I'm not sure. This might be a little overconfident.
Well, there's the surround here. Time War will go down, slowing a few of those Zerglings, but at the same time, they're already there. They're already connecting with these Zealots. In the end, the Zealots will get a trade-off, but it's not going to be useful enough. San did not get what he wanted, which was the cancel or kill on that third base. So this execution from San was a little weird, I gotta say.
Yeah, usually he's great about holding back in a corner, sitting and waiting until the last possible. There's no more units. He didn't realize there was another... nine Zealots are walking into an undefended base. Because he didn't realize there was another pylon and he didn't make any more lings. Hydra played that too perfectly. He got exactly the right amount of Zerglings to kill as many Zealots as he thought there were. And then San tricked him and made a bunch more Zealots.
There's more Zealots than you would have ever expected, Hydra, as they're now going to work on the natural. It seems that the third base, not the target at all. The natural is completely under... What? They got so many Zealots. More Zealots just pile on through. Yes, there's a Stargate behind this, but San could actually just do crippling damage right here.
Yeah, the pylon falls, but there's another one behind it, and he's losing so many Zerglings in the attempt. He might lose that. He's going to lose the queen as well. Might lose the other one. The mothership core is still there. More Zerglings in the mineral line. He barely has any drones mining at this point. The Roach Warren has finished, but he's not making any roaches. He's just making more and more lings. I don't know if this would be possible for him to hold this.
Wow, San is absolute Zealot king. As you said, the Roach Warren's there, but there you go. GG. San takes the lead 2-0. He is Zealot king, man. He is...
It's just kind of silly to watch. I feel so bad for Hydra because he defended that first wave absolutely perfectly. I don't know how deep the mind games go here from San because he actually messed up pretty badly, like not hugging a corner, walking out in the center like that. He just donated those Zealots. Was that trickery? Was he trying to lull Hydra into a sense of security?
It's like, if that's the case, then San is the greatest genius in the world. However, if he hadn't have done that, and imagine how many Zealots he would have had if all of those had survived and gone in. And they do so well when they're together. They exponentially increase their power when they're together against Zerglings. So.
And if Hydra weren't quite so good, if he just overestimated it a bit and had an extra, or underestimated himself a bit and had a few extra units, then that just kind of falls flat on his face. Because as you said, when they're not met up, when they're not together, they're much, much weaker. So only San really knows if that was a mistake that turned into a win, or if he just has everything planned out and is a mastermind.
I'm gonna go with mastermind because I like to think that.
I don't know.
I like to think mastermind, man. I'm going.
It's a bit more exciting, but.
Wow, Zealot King, he is the Zealot King. As now we're going to be getting on to game number 3, which is Whirlwind, our map. A big map once again, similar to Frost. However, if San decides to throw down a pylon in the most arbitrary of places and warp in Zealots, then Hydra is guaranteed to lose.
It does seem that way. You would think Whirlwind, Hydra thought Whirlwind was his map, one of his maps, but I don't know. The bigger the map is, just the more places there are to hide pylons. And the more pylons you have, the more Zealots come out.
All right, well, we'll be getting into game number 3 in a second here. San currently sat at 2-0. And for him, if he were to advance on 3-0 into the grand finals, San, for the longest time, has been looking for a championship in StarCraft 2. He came very close recently at the Asus ROG tournament in Finland. However, now, moving on to a final once again would be fantastic for him. And he could go all the way, especially if he has to face another Zerg in the final. But he still has to go through Hydra. One more map for him will determine that. However, Hydra, he's still a fantastic player. Could equalize things up. Let's get into game 3. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Protoss. Here, I'm dubbing him the Zealot King because he seems to make it work every single time. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for San. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg representing CJ Entus. Give it up for Hydra.
Close positions, so I don't know. We keep saying long positions, long rush distances, big maps are good for Hydra, but didn't work out for him on Frost. San finds a way. So close positions here. Not sure how big of a difference that'll make, but it is less than optimal. It's not the cross positions that makes the Immortal All-In so hard to do. I don't know. We'll have to see. And he is going for Gateway Expansion. That is pretty normal on here. It's not like Frost, where... Actually, it is kind of like Frost. Just opting to go for Gateway Expansion here. The Forge FE didn't work out too well for him, even though he won the game on Frost. the cannon rush itself was, it didn't actually end up happening because Hydra was just too well prepared for it. So going back to his bread and butter, the gateway expansion.
I think in San's defense there from the Frost game, though, is that it can be all too easy as a Protoss player to just say, well, I'm committing to this, I'm going to try and put some cannons down, and then, you know, it completely fail. But San, with good crisis management, was able to evaluate the situation and did not overcommit to it. So, cool stuff from San in game 1. Now we are on game 3, of course, and San still back to that bread and butter gateway build, and it's always working out for him. He is so strong with this opener.
And pool first from Hydra, so he not entirely confident in going hatchery first once again. Not sure if he did open it the 2 previous games. Maybe he feels that San, with the 2-game lead, with some room to work with, might go for something like a proxy gate zealot. A really dedicated cannon rush, something to try and deny that hatchery first that Hydra has been doing. But San, pretty comfortable with the 2-0 results. I'm going to just keep going with what worked. See the Cybercore come down, and he is still on one gas, so that would hint that he's going back to the 4-gateway zealot.
It would do, indeed, as Hydra here is going to have to scout out what he needs to make sure that nothing shenaniganery-less is going to happen, and
shenaniganery?
It will do for now.
It does.
I killed my sentence. It's gone. Anyway, so San now. He hasn't been spotted yet by Hydra. It's not going to matter too much for Hydra behind this because nothing insane is going on from San's point of view, but San is also on the move out with a probe.
He's going to drop that Nexus. He has a probe out in the middle of the map as well, but it should... it's going to slip around the Zergling, maybe?
He's just going to get straight in there.
Pass. And going for the 3rd hatchery before gas, that's really ballsy against San. That means he's not going to have speed. The pylon's definitely going to get down unless something weird happens. He's pretty much going to be forced to go Roach to try and defend this, and San has shown pretty comfortable with that. He just kind of does whatever damage he can, gets out as soon as he has to, and then goes Immortal.
Technically, Hydra will have a lot of production capabilities open to him if he's able to get this up and running. But still, San, he's probably played against this quite a bit. There's 2 gateways at the front, and there is the pylon at the back of the mineral line in the main, once again, for that 4th gateway if he wants to go for it. So there's certainly the possibility that we'll see the standard go to, as he's chrono boosting the warp tech already here, is San.
Yep, almost definitely. I'd be very surprised if we did not see a 4th gateway. And there it is, right in front of the Zergling. San really doesn't care if anyone knows at this point. Everyone knows. There is no surprising here. It's just the Zealots work anyway. And the probe is out on the map right in front of the 3rd base from Hydra. Hydra, he saw the probe. I'm not sure if he's aware of it or he just knows that he can't prevent it and he's going for the Roach defense. But the Roaches aren't even going to be in time for the first wave of Zealots.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And even that being said, with the amount of chrono boost that we've seen focus down on that warp gate tech, the Roach Warren being pretty early in essence is still not really going to be there for the full brunt, well, for the initial brunt of this force. So he has to defend initially with these few Zerglings and buy a little bit of time.
And Hydra is just so scared. He's actually stopping at 30 drones. We have 28 probes versus 30 drones, and he's moving into Zergling production. These are going to be slowlings. They're going to be almost useless, as well as some Roaches. I don't know if he can even hold it. He has 2 Roaches in production, but I think this hatchery might just be forfeit, and I think he knows it. He's not producing any unit. There he goes. He's going to try and defend it. I don't know if that's going to work.
There's a few on the way. These Zerglings at the back try and intercept one of the reinforcing Zealots and don't get him in the end due to the fact that the Mothership Core helps out considerably. And now it's just Zealots for the Zealot King San as he takes out the hatchery almost instantly. Really no contention for this at all. It's so low, he doesn't even care. He can turn around, start killing off some of these units, and the Roaches just kill the hatchery anyway for good measure. So now Hydra trying to kill off as many Zealots as he possibly can do, but so much damage has already been done.
He can't even fight them with the Roaches. The Queen is down. The Roaches are slowly getting picked off. There's no answer to the Mothership Core here. San's just going to kind of keep going. Where's his probe? Can he drop it? Oh, no, he hid the probe for later attacks. So he's not going to be able to drop a pylon more aggressively. He was making drones. Hydra didn't think he was going to keep going in, so he didn't keep... now he has 7 Roaches in production, though. He should be okay here. But yeah, he got a little bit cocky there. It almost cost him.
The Zealots get straight on top of these Roaches once again, and now the Roaches are even trying to micro back. There is a lot of firepower in these Roaches, so he should be able to clean this up eventually. But there's already 6 workers having gone down here, and it's 34 workers to 26. So regardless of what happens from here, regardless of these Zealots being cleaned up, his economical position, isn't that amazing?
And he lost another queen, which leaves him with only 1 for his 2 hatcheries, so he's not even at full production. He lost some drones as well. Did kill the mothership core, did kill a lot of zealots. So, I mean, that's nice, but I don't know. He traded way, way too much for it. And now it's 2 base versus 2 base with a robo already finished. 3rd and 4th gas is coming up. Mothership core already replaced. So he's just going to immortal all in, and I don't know if Hydra's going to be actually capable of stopping it. I just don't know if he can possibly get enough units in time to hold off that powerful rush.
He's looking to just send in Hallucinated Oracle, 1 for information, maybe 2 to be able to force his opponent into some very weird reaction, but that's not going to be the case. The Hallucination does end up dying in, but it gets a lot of scouting information off, and now with those Immortals being cranked out for San as well, as you rightly pointed out before, I don't think he's lost with this build during this tournament, so Hydra's going to have a hard time, especially considering his economy was a little bit in tatters.
Quite a bit in tatters, in fact. Just now getting the 3rd and 4th gas up, the lair on the way, slowly on the way. He's not going to have roach speed for that initial attack. Sans needs to move out around the 11-minute mark, 2 immortals. He's looking right on pace for that. I don't know, there's no upgrades. There's not even burrow this game. He doesn't feel he can afford it. And that helped a little bit for effort, but it still wasn't enough to win the game. I'm just not sure what he does at this point.
I think the fact that we see 73 supply to 73 supply, it really gives us a big indication as to where Hydra is in this game, and that's a bad place, a bad place. As San now moving out with the 2 Immortals, also producing that Warp Prism, not only to reinforce, but also to go for that micro with those Immortals if he needs it. And they never seem to die. They really do live up to their name. Hydra has to deal with this so well. He has to come in from all angles, take perfect engagements. Otherwise, he will die here, and San will go on 3-0 to the grand final.
Moving out to try and meet him in the center of the map, but those are slow roaches. It's very possible they get caught by force fields. Goodbye Hydra, not to get trapped into a bad position, but he's just going to get, he's just going to get walled off, and he's not going to be able to get up here and fight the army now. And everything's going to die.
Well, a few of those sentries do end up dying some of the roaches, so that's going to negate a few of the force fields later on, but he still has a few more at the back, also walling that off as you said, and this hatchery is not going to live for very much longer. So the roaches, they're going to try and come up and do something, but they need to all come in and converge on 1 point at the exact same time.
But with good force field usage, San can pretty much foolproof prevent that.
Yes.
And the Warp Prism is there, lots of pylons there, no way to stop the production of San. The only way is just catch him really out of position, and San's micro is too good to allow that to happen.
And force fields will go down, sealing out so many roaches. All the drones come off the line as well. They're trying to get that 1 Immortal. It could be picked up into the Warp Prism, and if it did die, no, it's not going to die. It's on like 1 health. A very, very nice save there by San, because why on earth not? Why not keep that alive, as the roaches can't even get in. San's so far up in terms of supply.
And Immortal literally on 1 health, still sitting there, still shooting, dealing damage, and he picks it up, not going to let that die. Teasing him with it. Has shields now, so that it is going to survive.
They don't die. They are immortal. They are holding this on, holding it strong. Hydra is done. GG. 3-0 goes to San, the Zealot Immortal King.
That was, well, San's really, really good at that build. I don't know. I would almost, at this point, like to see him go on to the finals against DRG, do that build 4 times, and win 4-0 with it. I think that would be, it'd be painful. It wouldn't be the best series, but it would be interesting to watch. I'm kind of curious if he can do it at this point, because he literally has not lost with that.
It's a very, very strong build, and now San advances on to the grand final. He's going to be either playing against a Protoss or a Zerg. We kind of know which one he wants to be playing.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
that final.
Hero, a very scary player, and a very non-Zerg player. And I think San would definitely like to keep going against the Zergs at this rate.
Oh, yes, he certainly would. So Hydra is now eliminated from the tournament. Commiserations to this man on screen, but San, as we said, advances on. What a really, really stellar performance just in general from San. I wasn't expecting the first map to go exactly how it did.
No.
But as we said, Zealot King, he finds a way.
That is kind of impressive. Even if you are a relatively one-dimensional player, if you can make any game fit into that one dimension, it kind of just keeps working out for you. Like, you're not really supposed to be able to Zealot Rush after making 3 Nexus on Frost. It's just not supposed to happen. But San can make it work.
All right, so that means our first semifinal is concluded here. So now we can send it over to an interview with our winner on the stage with Red Eye.
Thanks very much, chaps. Yes, with Sam, congratulations. Fantastic 3-0 win. I don't think anyone thought it was going to be that straightforward. Can we talk about the second map? Kalaris said he wasn't sure whether it was genius or lucky. Can you explain the second map to us in a bit more detail? Was it a bit of luck in there, or was it something you actually planned?
두 번째 경기에서 해설자들이 이거는 운 아니면 천재적인 거다 이렇게 설명을 했었는데 일부러 자기 스스로는 운이었던 건지 아니면 진짜 일부러 했던 건지 설명해 주세요.
두 번째 경기는 제가 평소에 레더에서 그런 게임 많이 해가지고 운이 아니고 노렸던 거예요.
That was definitely not luck. That was definitely not luck. I always practiced that in ladder, and it worked out.
Okay, so it was genius then. Well, we'll let him have that one. I think Kalaris called it a master stroke, so we'll keep it at that. Third map, was there any concern from you during the third map that maybe that he could come back into the game? He had a supply lead at one point, so did it look like that maybe you were forced onto the back foot, or were you always comfortable?
세 번째 경기에서는 좀 경기를 설명하자면 어땠었는지 항상 계속 이길 줄 알았었는지 아니면 좀 질 수도 있겠다 그런 생각이 들은 적은 있었나요?
세 번째 경기요?
네.
그냥 적당히 찌르고 그냥 운영하려고 했는데 가니까 아무것도 없어서 운이 좋아서 이겼던 것 같아요.
Well, in the third game, I wanted to just put a little bit of pressure, but I actually saw that that my opponent didn't have any units, so I just ended the game.
Okay, fairly straightforward. Not going to get much simpler than that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit because we had you at Intel Extreme Masters in New York, and you were quiet there. You didn't really make a huge amount of noise, and you lost out to Naniwa in the quarterfinals. What has been the difference between Intel Extreme Masters in New York and now a few months later here in Singapore?
IEM 뉴욕도 참가를 하셨었는데 그때와 지금이랑 다른 게 있다면 뭐가 있나요?
일단 뉴욕은 너무 멀어가지고 좀 컨디션이 안 좋은 상태에서 게임에서 좋은 성적을 잘 못 낸 것 같은데 이번에는 시차도 없고 그래서 평소 실력이 잘 나오는 것 같습니다.
Well, New York was too far away, so I was really in a bad condition. And here it's perfect. There's no time difference, so I can play perfectly.
Okay, so put in another situation. If it was Naniwa in the semi-final now, you could beat him.
그러면 다시 나니와를 지금 만나야 된다면 이길 수 있나요?
나니아 선수 잘해가지고 다시 만나도 그냥 이길 수 있다는 장담은 못하겠지만 그때보다는 잘할 것 같아요.
Well, I can't say that I would win, but since I have a good condition here, I think it's possible.
Okay, he's a good man. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, San is your winner of the first semi-final. And we've got more StarCraft 2 coming up as well. Another semi-final on the way before they play out for the chance to play this man in the grand final. We're also going to crown our MVP, so make sure that you log on to Twitter and tweet and follow at IEM and tweet us your favourite MVP from the StarCraft 2 tournament. We'll be announcing the MVP and bringing them out to receive their award before the grand final this afternoon. Just 2 more matches to go from StarCraft 2 after 4 fantastic days of brilliant StarCraft 2 here in Singapore. We'll be right back.